In the previous movie, I showed you how you could change your workspace to one of the preset default workspaces. We're currently in the web workspace. Now I'm going to show you how you can modify this workspace and set up Illustrator so it's optimal for web design. Technically, a workspace is defined as any arrangement of panels, toolbars, and windows. And you'll probably need to work with Illustrator and experiment and find the workspace that works best for you. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and edit my preferences. I'll go to Illustrator, Preferences, General, and I'm going to make sure that my keyboard increment is set to 1 pixel. Then I'm going to go to the Unit category, and we're going to change the general settings to pixels, as well as stroke to pixels. I find that it's best to be working in pixels when I'm creating artwork for the web. Finally, I'm going to go to the Guides and Grids section. And what I like to do here is I like to make a grid line every 1 pixel, and I also like to have a subdivision set to 1. This is going to make a grid line every single pixel, which is helping for my elements to snap to the grid. I've been using 1 for both values for some time now, and I find that it works best for my process, no matter what project I'm working on. I'll click OK to accept these changes. And now I'm going to modify the default web workspace. If we expand these windows, you can see that it's going to show the various panels that are part of the default web workspace. Some of these are panels that I don't find to be very useful, so I'm just going to eliminate them. I don't normally work with variables, so I'm going to pull that out and close that pane, nor do I find myself using the action panel very much with web-based work, so I'll pull that out as well. I also don't use the attribute panel, so I'm going to pull this one out too. And I'm just closing those elements. Next, I'm going to open some of the panels that aren't part of the web workspace that I find to be useful. There's quite a few, so I'm going to go into the window pane, and I'm going to start by opening up my Align panel. The Align panel is bundled with the Pathfinder panel, and that's one that I use quite often, so I'll leave those two together. I'm also going to go to Window, and I'm going to open up the Transform panel. I like to have my Transform panel readily available because this is something that I use quite often. I'm going to open my Swatch panel. And by default, the Swatch panel is bundled with the Color panel. These two panels I use often, but I don't tend to use the Color Guide panel very often, so I'll pull that out and close it. Next, I'm going to open up my Gradient panel. The Gradient panel is bundled with the Stroke and Transparency panels, and again, those are panels that I use quite often, so I'll leave those open. I'm going to open my Symbol panel. The Symbol panel is bundled with the Brush panel. This is something that I don't use often in web-based design, so I'll close that up, but I will keep my Graphic Style panel open. I also want to open up my Info panel. And the Info panel is something that actually is bundled in the web-based panel, so I'll just leave that here. And finally, I'm going to go into Window, Type, and I'm going to open my Character Styles. The Character Styles is bundled with the Paragraph Styles, and I like to use both of these when I'm doing web-based work. In addition, I like to have my Glyph panel open. That's located under Window, Type, Glyphs. And I'm going to bundle the Glyph panel into the Character and Paragraph Style panels. Now, as you can see, my panels are pretty much covering all of my artwork on my screen, so I need to consolidate these so that I can get my work done. I'm going to take the Character, Paragraph, and Glyph panel, and I'm going to have them appearing underneath the default Character, Paragraph, and Open Type panels that are part of Illustrator. I'm also going to move my Transform panel, and I like this to be right underneath my Info panel, so I'll place that right there. And I'll take my Align and Pathfinder panels and place them underneath my Transform panel. Next, I'm going to make a new column of panels by grabbing my Stroke, Gradient, and Transparency panel and docking them next to the second column that we have. As you can see, once you turn the panels into a column, you have the option to collapse and expand them. I'll leave them collapsed for now. I'm going to place my Swatch and Color panel underneath my transparency panel, and then I'm going to move my symbol and graphic styles underneath those. So now I have Illustrator organized in a way that I find most useful in regards to my panel sets. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my rulers. I'll go to View, Rulers, Show Rulers, and my rulers should automatically be set to pixels since I set that in my preferences. You can always right-click here and change them to pixels if they aren't. I'm going to verify under my View menu that Snap to Pixel is checked, and I also like to work with Snap to Grid. So I'm going to turn both of those things on. In addition, I want to make sure that my Pixel Preview checkbox is on, and I'm going to go into my grid settings, and I'm just going to check Show Grids, and this will show the pixel grid that we had set up earlier in this exercise. Now Illustrator is optimized in a way that I find most useful to do web-based work, and now I'm ready to start designing my websites.